What instruments? On the airplane. Violin, viola, cello, violin, bass, cello, violin, 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 piano. What instruments? On the airplane. Violin, viola, cello, violin.
My bow cost $35.
Naughty, how much does your instrument cost?
$200.
We're in Cleveland, Ohio. It's beautiful.
Practice saying no without explaining yourself too much.
Mom, I don't want to practice. You need to respect my boundaries and my wishes.
What did you say?
Practice saying no without explaining.
Did you know that if you put a balloon in your guitar and you decide you want to pop it in there, that you will spend the next 5 years of your life trying to get it out and regret all of your life decisions, and your dad will probably disown you? Yeah, don't. Did you know that if you put a...
How does something like this even happen? How does something like this even happen?
This needle melts inside your body dot, but if it melts, how does it pierce your skin?
There is simply no way in this day and age that you respect.
Hey, someone dropped the name.
For kids who struggle with math, parents often buy this clever monkey device. It helps them multiply any two numbers without making a single mistake. All they have to do is place the monkey's feet on the two numbers you want to multiply, and its hands will point to the correct answer. But if you're multiplying the same number, like 7 and 7, just place one foot on the number and the other on the black square at the end. The monkey will give you the right answer. For kids who struggle with math,
Wait, did someone
Orange peels can This is a glove pistol, a special weapon developed by KGB spies. To fire it, they first open the chamber and load a single bullet. Once the chamber is put back in, they can wear it like a regular glove, but in a moment of danger, they can deliver a powerful jab, which releases a spring-loaded striker and fires a deadly bullet. This is a glove pistol.
If you trap fleas in a jar and seal the lid, they'll keep jumping.
This is what happens to your lungs if you dive too deep without breathing. And this guy's about to prove it with just a plastic bottle. First, he fills it with air, then closes it and sends it back to the...
We're in Cleveland.
Regular viewers of this channel might have noticed that I'm not very nice to the big boys of YouTube bass. Scott's Bass Lessons.
Steinberger.
Davey 504.
Danny Sepko, I will revoke your bass license.
Cornetto. But in reality, I think these guys are all great bassists and great YouTubers, and I'm just a strategically shaved rodent with a catapult. And there's someone else I should mention. So this is Charles Bertu, and he might just be the most impressive bass player you've ever seen. His videos are an endless stream of inventive ways to break the boundaries of the bass guitar. So,
how to impress a non-guitarist. How to impress your girlfriend. How to impress a beginner guitarist. How to impress an expert guitarist. How to impress a non-guitarist.
Get up. This is an egg I would never buy as a lawyer. And I wouldn't buy this one. Or this one. Why? Because these labels don't mean what you think they do. Take cage-free, for example. Sounds great, right? But legally, all it means is no cages. Which means even with the cage-free label, the chickens can still be crammed together in an overcrowded barn. And then there's all natural, which sounds reassuring, but is completely meaningless, as there are zero legal standards behind it. It's just a marketing trick designed to make you think the egg is better, when in reality, it isn't. And finally, we have the most surprising of all, free range. When most people see this label, they picture a chicken with all the freedom in the world, roaming a wide open paddock, basking in the sun, and scratching at the dirt. But in reality, minimal outdoor access is all that's required for this label. Sometimes just a tiny cramped porch. So if you can't trust these labels, which ones can you trust? Well, there are two specific labels that come with real legal standards. To receive either of these labels, the chickens must be kept on a paddock year-round, with at least 2.5 acres of land for every 1,000 chickens. Just over 2 football fields, which is why the only 2 labels I trust when it comes to buying eggs are pasture-raised and certified humane. This is an egg I would never buy as a lawyer, and I wouldn't buy this.
These are the best guitar intros of each decade. These are the best guitar intros of each decade.
This is the musical highway. Yep, the road is covered in these tiny grooves that resonate music, except it's famous for sounding horrible, and you'll see why. Well, the road was originally designed to replicate this popular song. But during construction, each groove was made a fraction of an inch off, so the entire thing is out of tune and sounds like this. the musical highway. This is a sound grenade, and I've always wondered how devices like this work. So today, I took one apart and tested it. The device works by cocking back the spring-loaded striker on top of the main metal chamber. Then, you insert a CO2 canister into the chamber and securely screw a plastic shell over the top. And when you pull the pin and release the handle, the striker will puncture the CO2 and cause the gas to build so much pressure that the plastic shell erupts open. This is a sound grenade, and I've always wondered how devices like this work. So today, I took one apart and tested it. The device works by cocking back the spring-loaded striker on top of the main metal chamber. Then, you insert a CO2 canister into the chamber and securely screw a plastic shell over the top. And when you pull the pin and release the handle, the striker will puncture the CO2 and cause the gas to build so much pressure that the plastic shell erupts open. This is a sound grenade, and I've always wondered how devices like this work. So today, I took one apart and tested it. The device works by cocking back the spring-loaded striker on top of the main metal chamber. Then, you insert a CO2 canister into the chamber and securely screw a plastic shell over the top. And when you pull the pin and release the handle, the striker will puncture the CO2 and cause the gas to build so much pressure that the plastic shell erupts open. This is a sound grenade, and I've always wondered how devices like this work. So today, I took one apart and tested it. The device works by cocking back the spring-loaded striker on top of the main metal chamber. Then, you insert a CO2 canister into the chamber and securely screw a plastic shell over the top. And when you pull the pin and release the handle, the striker will puncture the CO2 and cause the gas to build so much pressure that the plastic shell erupts open. This is a sound grenade, and I've always wondered how devices like this work. So today, I took one apart and tested. This video will make you hallucinate a forbidden color. It's called hyper orange, and it doesn't exist in the real world. For just 15 seconds, I want you to stare at the cross in the center of the circle. Now, you might already notice the edges of the circle beginning to blur, and within a few more seconds, you'll start to hallucinate a pulsating halo of intense orange color around the circle, and keep staring for just a bit longer. And as the circle begins to fade away, you'll experience true hyper orange. A color that only exists in your brain and not in the physical world. This video will make you hallucinate a forbidden color. It's called hyper orange, and it doesn't exist in the real world. For just 15 seconds, I want you to stare at the cross in the center of the circle. Now, you might already notice the edges of the circle beginning to blur, and within a few more seconds, you'll start to hallucinate a pulsating halo of intense orange color around the circle, and keep staring for just a bit longer. And as the circle begins to fade away, you'll experience true hyper orange. A color that only exists in your brain and not in the physical world. This video will make This might be the cruelest punishment in history. You see, in medieval Europe, if you were accused of a crime like theft or adultery, you might be placed in front of boiling water. Then a priest would drop a ring into the scalding pot, and you'd be forced to reach in and retrieve it. Now, this water would instantly burn anyone, but it was believed that God would protect the innocent from injury. So a few days later, If your hands were visibly burned or infected, you were found guilty and often executed. This might be the cruel.
What's hiding in the tide pools?
Well, this location is a hidden gem because frankly, it's pretty sketch to get to. You have to arrive at low tide and then time the waves while quickly climbing along the coast. But once we made it, it was crawling with life. And while trying to catch a crab under this rock, a sea anemone latched onto Nick. Now, these guys don't have eyes, so when they detect movement, their tentacles wrap around their prey and sting them with venom. And closer to the water, we found all these tiny sea urchin, which underneath have hundreds of little tube feet that help them crawl and pull food into their mouth.
We love Sephora because it's got hair. How clean is rainwater?
Well, according to science,
how does the mirror see what I'm doing when I'm blocking the reflection?
Well, this illusion has gone extremely viral, leaving millions of people confused. So let me explain as simply as possible. If you sit in front of a mirror, you can stare yourself in the eyes, but when you block your reflection, you have to remember that everything we see is giving off light in all directions. So even though your direct line of view is blocked, it's still reflecting off the mirror and visible at all these other angles.
How does the mirror see what I'm doing when I'm blocking the reflection?
Well, this illusion has gone I have something very scary to try today. It's called capsaicin, and it's what happens if the asteroid in 2032 actually hits Earth. Well, a few days ago, how many babies are accidentally switched at birth? Well, this whole situation is this won Best Illusion of the Year in 2019, and the longer you look, the weirder it gets. It's called the double axis illusion, and if you put a vertical line through it, the illusion looks like it's rotating sideways in a circular motion. But if the line is changed, you'll suddenly notice it looks like it's rotating from top to bottom. But to make it more confusing, the illusion spins clockwise like you're seeing here, but at the same time it spins counterclockwise, and the longer you look, the more confusing it becomes. This one these might look like ordinary candles, but 400 years ago, these might determine who your parents let you date. It's called a courting candle, and by adjusting the height of the wax, you can set how long it burns, similar to a timer. And rumor has it that fathers would set these before their daughters went on dates, and that date had to end before the flame reached the top. And the more he liked you, the higher he'd set the candle. These might look like ordinary candles. What happens if the doomsday clock hits midnight? Well, once per year, a group of scientists update the doomsday clock based on the overall state of humanity, and 2025 was just set to 89 seconds to midnight, which is the lowest it's ever been. So what does this mean? Well, the time is based on things like nuclear threats and global conflicts, climate change, and how dangerous new technologies are. So the clock is a metaphor for how close humanity is to destroying itself. And for the last 15 years or so, we've steadily declined closer to midnight. What happens if the doomsday clock hits midnight? I have something very cool to show you. Have you ever wondered how competitive eaters can eat all that food? Well, they actually do something to their stomachs that's pretty unusual. You see, your stomach is roughly the size of your fist, but a professional's stomach can stretch 3 times larger. And they achieve this by eating foods like cabbage. Yep, by bulk eating low-calorie foods or drinking gallons of liquids, they intentionally bloat themselves as much as possible to expand their stomachs. And after years of this, their stomachs adapt and become stretchy to fit all that food. Have you ever... This is an ancient war horn from 2,000 years ago, and it's been nicknamed the most terrifying instrument in history, and you'll hear why. The instrument is called a harnix, and they were used by Celtic warriors starting around 300 BC. And these warriors were known for being vicious and fearless. For example, they'd behead their enemies and display them as trophies, and many of them would fight naked to display this fearlessness. Well, to hype themselves up for battle, they'd all blow into these horns and flood the battlefield with this. This isn't. How much does drinking actually slow your reaction time? Well, to test this, I'm doing a legitimate This is a plague dot. This is a nose filter, which is designed to purify what you breathe to protect you from allergies and harmful inhalants. Well, to see if these actually work, will they protect me from chili powder or even worse, smelling salts? To do this, I had to sacrifice for science and test the chili powder without the filter.
Oh, that burns, bro.
However, when I tried again with the filter,
All right, here we go.
I could inhale stronger than I did previously with zero discomfort.
That works.
But smelling salts is the real test. These things are so powerful that doctors once used them to revive unconscious people.
I'm about to cry.
And to my complete surprise, when using the filter, I could actually sit there and sniff the thing that just made me cry.
Oh my god.
Do you know how Earth will end? Well, in 5 billion years, our sun will burn all. Do you know about the most unusual beauty trend in history? During the 1500s in England, sugar was extremely rare and expensive. And because of this, only the wealthy and royalty could really afford it. Well, Queen Elizabeth was known to be quite the sugar addict, and she ate so much of it that her teeth blackened from extreme tooth decay. So all over England, people would intentionally rot their teeth or dye them black with soot and charcoal to appear wealthy, like they could afford sugar. Do you know about the most Can you beat the world's hardest tongue twister according to science? Well, before I show you, scientists say this is nearly impossible because it focuses on 3 patterns instead of just 1. For example, Sally sells seashells focuses on just that S sound. Well, this repeats P, K, and D. So comment how you do, and here it is. Can you beat the world's hardest tongue twister according to science? Well, before I show you, scientists say this.
Do you dream in Minecraft blocks? Then you need these in your inventory. They're DIY craft.
Behind me is the strangest road in America.
It's called Zizek's Road, and it takes you 4 miles into the desert until you find an old medical center. But this medical center was not normal, and you'll see why. In 1944, Zizek's Mineral Springs was built by a con artist named Curtis Springer. And Curtis was a religious preacher, but also a self-proclaimed doctor. And he'd go on the radio claiming that Zizek's was built on holy grounds with miraculous healing properties. And for 30 years, he lured sick and desperate people into the desert where he gave them fake miracle baths and sold bogus remedies that he said could cure things like cancer. And in 1974, he was finally shut down, not because of his scams, but because he didn't have the proper paperwork for his resort.
Behind me is the...
This little pill is nicknamed the Sugar Destroyer because it temporarily blocks the sweetness of sugar, helping people fight their cravings and lose weight. So today, I have 3 popular snacks from least sweet to most sweet to see how effective these pills can be.
Food number 1, Honey Nut Cheerios. With 1 serving, having as much sugar as a donut. That's awful. All of the flavor was gone. It was like eating a stale crouton. Food 2, Coca-Cola. With 1 bottle being 130% of your daily added sugar. Whoa. The sweetness, 99% gone. It was like a very dull flavored seltzer water. Finally, the sweetest, most sugary looking candy I could find. That tasted like flavorless wax.
This might look like a normal bag, but it's actually used by spies and operatives. What happens inside your brain when you die? Well, the answer is kinda beautiful. In 2016, an elderly man unexpectedly passed away while undergoing a brain scan. But because of this, scientists discovered that portions of his brain remained active even after his heart stopped. Well, for 30 seconds after technically dying, his brain sent out a final burst of activity, similar to the brain waves associated with dreaming and recalling memories, suggesting our final farewell might be reliving our favorite moments. What happens inside your brain? Watch this. Have you ever wondered how magicians are able to do this magic trick, where they tear off a piece of playing card and throw it away or even swallow it, and then somehow make it reattach as if nothing happened? Well, the trick is super simple. By bending the corner of two different cards and cutting the edge off of one, you can hide a decoy in your hand. Then, when you go to tear your card, you're actually just bending the card back and pretending to rip the decoy. This allows you to bend the original back up as if it was magic. Watch this. Have you ever wondered how magicians are able... Do you know about the time traveler that was supposedly captured at a Mike Tyson fight? This is a fast food lasagna made with over 45 big... What would happen if every person on Earth screamed at once? How loud or even destructive would this be? Well, the average scream is 90 decibels loud, but a trained voice can shatter glass at over 100 decibels. And in 2014, 75,000 screaming fans broke the record for loudest crowd at 142 decibels, which is louder than standing next to a jet engine. So with 8 billion screams, we'd reach 180 decibels, instantly rupturing our eardrums and feeling as if we got hit by a wall of air. But overall, it wouldn't cause mass destruction, just collapse a few buildings. Subscribe! What would happen if $1 to $100 optical illusions? Which one's the best? Starting with just $1 is a sheet of magician's smoke, which when set on fire, gives you residue that you can rub with your fingers to create a smoky illusion. Next, for $25 is this pyramid, and when you look at it just right, it creates a responsive three-dimensional hallway, at least until you tilt too far. Finally, the $100 illusion. No matter where you walk in the room, this illusion will make you see different shapes and depths, but in reality, it's actually just a flat painting. $1 to $100 optical. This is a World War II. What would happen if you took every person on Earth and stacked them on top of each other? I mean, how tall would we all be? Or how far would we go? Well, the average height of all humans is 5.5 feet. And with 8 billion people, we'd reach the height of the world's tallest building 16 million times. In fact, we'd not only leave Earth, but we could wrap around our planet 300 times. And in total, we'd be roughly 8 million miles tall, making it to the moon 35 times, and almost a quarter of the way to Mars. What would happen if you took every person... Is it possible to actually unlock handcuffs using a hair clip like... If you lived hundreds of years ago, this is how you'd make yourself medicine. And let's see if you can guess what type of medicine this old recipe makes. First, you'd start by boiling crab legs and crushing the shell into a fine powder. Then, you'd mix that powder with a simple dough that was made with just flour and water. Now, once combined, you'd take out your pill roller to shape the dough and press it into even tablets. And subscribe because this recipe was for stomach pain. If you lived hundreds of years ago, this is how you'd make yourself medicine. Is it possible to hatch grocery store chicken eggs to save them from being eaten? Well, to test this, I bought eggs from from a generic supermarket and also a farmer's market to compare. Look at that size difference. Well, I put both into the incubator, and here's how this works. The incubator keeps the eggs warm to mimic the conditions of a mother hen. And if the eggs are fertilized, they'll go from looking empty on day 0 to showing visible signs of life within a few weeks. All right, it's been a few weeks, and before we see if there's life inside, here's my concern. Egg farms usually keep hens away from roosters, meaning that eggs you purchase to eat are not fertilized, making them impossible to develop life. Is it possible to hatch grocery store chicken eggs to save them? Let's make the viral frozen gummy bears with the world's largest gummies. Oh, it looks so good. All you have to do is soak your favorite gummies in Sprite and let them sit in your fridge overnight. It's the next day. Now, with your gummies looking like they hit a bulk,
Look how big they are.
remove them from the Sprite and place them in the freezer for 3 hours. And when it's all said and done, you should have frozen gummy bears with a slushy consistency. And subscribe, because these are good. Let's make... This might look like normal dental floss, but it's actually an escape kit designed to save your life. By pulling out all of the floss, you'll reach the first of 3 hidden tools. A strip of Kevlar, which can easily free you from restraints. But if that fails, there's a secret key that unlocks handcuffs, and as a last resort, a strip of diamond wire, which can cut through the hardest materials, even the subscribe button. This might look like normal. Is the original and oldest McDonald's better than a new? This is a Magdeburg hemisphere, This is a Magdeburg hemisphere, which is a physics phenomenon because the sphere loosely fits together, but when you remove the air from inside, the outside air pressure forces the 2 halves together, making them nearly impossible to pull apart. So today, we're testing to see how much weight air pressure can hold. Starting with just 1 person, I pulled as hard as I physically could to separate the sphere. And even when I had help from my special assistant, I could literally drag her without the sphere budging. Next, I took it up a notch by seeing if I could swing from the sphere. And as I began testing my full weight, it was supporting me until this. Subscribe for my pain. This is alcohol, and it's a rare form of vodka that literally comes from a cow's udders. And as gross as that sounds, it's ironically ranked one of the best alcohols in the world. Can you answer the surgeon's riddle? Well, only 15% of people answer this simple question correctly. So let's see how you do. A father and his son are in a car accident. The father sadly passes away at the scene, and the boy is rushed to the hospital. When he arrives, the surgeon looks at him and says, "I can't operate on this boy because he's my son. So how is this possible?" Subscribe and the answer is in the comments. Can you answer the surgeon's riddle? Well, only 15% of people answer this simple question correctly. So let's see how you do. A father and his Can you finish this video without yawning? Now, yawning is one of the most contagious behaviors between humans. In fact, just seeing me yawn probably makes you want to yawn too. Scientists have even proven that just describing that pressure that slowly builds up in your chest or that tickle in the back of your throat right before you yawn probably gives you that same urge. But if you still haven't given in, 8 years ago, I watched this guy's viral yawn from College Humor, and he made me and millions of people all yawn. Can you finish this video without... This is the devil's handshake, and it's an instrument of terror that was used in medieval Europe to... This little little guy is called a Prince Rupert's drop, which is a physics phenomenon because the bulb is one of the strongest materials on Earth, while the tail is extremely fragile. So today, we're putting these to the test to see how much force these tiny little glass pieces can actually resist. Starting with just 25 pounds, I began pushing downwards and even slamming the drop with the weight, but it was totally unfazed. In fact, it destroyed my table.
Next, I'm gonna try to squeeze it as hard as I can. What the
Even with 2 hands, gloves, and my incredibly strong, big, large muscles, there was no way.
That is crazy.
The final test, we're going the hammer.
Stay safe, nerds.
I started with a light tap, and then I really went for it. To be honest, I wasn't expecting that, but it seems like I hit the tail of it. What do you guys think? This little guy is... Did you know that NASA sent pictures into space that they want aliens to see? Yep, attached to Voyager 1 and 2, which are the first spacecraft to ever leave our solar system, are these golden discs that contain messages about humanity. So here's what's on them. The discs contain 116 images that capture life on Earth, and they include things like how we eat and drink to pictures of our civilization and the nature that surrounds us. They also have a ton of audio messages, but that's for a part 2. Did you know that NASA sent
running a business?
Do not eat. This is me eating a silica gel packet. Well, not really. You see, this is a real silica gel packet, and this is a replicated candy version. But what would happen if you actually ate a do not eat packet? Well, most people think that these are some kind of toxic poison, but they actually just help absorb moisture in packages. And although they might irritate your skin or stomach a bit, they're covered in do not eat, mainly to prevent little kids from opening and choking on them. By the way, never actually eat the real ones. Do not eat. This is me eating. Can you solve the puzzle in this video? Well, according to Mark Rober, you can solve the puzzle in this video? Well, according to Mark Rober, you can always win the candy guessing game by doing this one simple trick. You see, if you count the number of candies across the jar in a line, and then do the same thing on a second side, you can then count up the jar and multiply those 3 numbers together to get an extremely close guess.
I'm gonna guess about 810.
So who can guess the exact number of candies inside this much bigger jar? Is the lottery a scam? Well, to test this, I got $200 of the most popular scratchers, and the goal is to make more than I spent. The way this works is that each ticket has a row of winning numbers and then 30 mystery numbers below. Well, if one of the winning numbers matches one of your mystery numbers, you get that reward, up to 5 million big ones.
My first ticket, nothing.
And although this game claims to have a 1 in 4 chance of winning,
0 for 3.
It wasn't until my 5th ticket that something happened.
I won $100.
I won the $100 bonus, and feeling good, I felt like my luck was beginning to turn around. Except it wasn't. Other than 2 free tickets to play again and the $100 bonus, I didn't have a single winning number on any of my tickets, for a total loss of $100. Is the lottery a scam? Well, this is the world's smelliest fruit, and they smell so bad that they're illegal to open in certain countries. So let's see how my puppy Norman, who eats anything, will react to these. Spoiler, it's pretty funny. The smelly fruits are called durians. And not only do they reek, but they weigh about 10 pounds and are incredibly spiky.
I think I'm just gonna slice down the middle.
And once they're opened up, you're immediately hit with an overwhelming odor.
It smells like someone threw up rotten fruit.
But Norman was patiently waiting to try.
Sit.
Well, turns out Norman not only doesn't want to eat the durian, but he wants to rub the smell entirely off of his nose. Follow from
Hey guys.
This is the Assassin's Teapot, and it's famous for killing people because there's something hidden on the inside. You see, the teapot lets you pour a safe drink for yourself, but then a different, potentially poisonous drink for someone else. So how is this possible? Well, if you look closely, you'll notice 2 holes hidden on the handle, and each hole connects to a different chamber inside the pot. And when you cover one of these holes, it creates an airlock, letting out liquid from the other chamber so you can secretly poison your non-subscribers. This is the Assassin's Teapot. How good is our sense of time? Well, to test this, I have to stop the clock at exactly 1 hour without being able to see or hear. And the goal is to beat fellow creator Addy Bowley, who was able to get within 5 minutes of an hour. At first, I thought this challenge was gonna be pretty straightforward, but I quickly realized that with no stimulation, I was gonna do anything I could to entertain myself.
This is ASMR with Sean.
Acting completely abnormal and almost hysterical at times. By this point, I was doing shockingly well.
I'm gonna say we're 25 minutes in now.
But then something really distracted me.
Now I'm scared I'm gonna touch someone.
I was experiencing deprivation anxiety, which is when you become hyper alert and even afraid because you can't see your surroundings. So I sat there for quite a while until this.
Treats?
For what I thought was the last minutes, I played with my puppy Norman. And when I pressed the button, I got this. How good is our sense of time? Well, have you ever wondered how magicians are able to magically levitate small objects? Well, anyone can do this using the static from a balloon. You see, by rubbing your hair against a balloon, you're creating a small electric charge that can quickly be transferred to the dollar, causing it to almost jump at the balloon. And for about 10 seconds, without touching anything to lose the charge, you can use the negative charge of your hands with a bit of magic to float the dollar. Follow for more. Have you ever wondered how magicians... Do you know why your skin wrinkles when submerged in water? Well, this actually happens to help you survive. You see, when you enter water, your body naturally constricts blood vessels to preserve oxygen. And because of this, you have less blood flow to areas like your hands and feet, causing your skin to lose fullness and wrinkle. And these wrinkles also give us better grip underwater, which may be linked to our evolution. Do you know why your skin wrinkles when submerged? This is a secret Nazi hideout called Murphy's Ranch, which is abandoned in the mountains of California. And recently, I received a message on how to find this hidden base. Located in the outskirts of Los Angeles at a dead-end road, you'll find a dirt path that takes you several miles into the mountains until you find this. A long and narrow staircase that winds you down the mountainside to a 40-acre compound. Now, on this compound during World War II, Nazi supporters built a $4 million safe haven, equipped with food gardens, water towers, and even what appears to be bomb shelters to house Nazis for extended periods of time. And it's rumored that this was built in preparation for a German invasion of the United States, and similar places have been found all over America, which is pretty freaky. This is a secret. Have you ever wondered who the lady is in the world's most famous painting, the Mona Lisa? Well, no one knows for certain, but here are the two most interesting theories. The first is that the lady is actually a man. Yep, some historians believe it was an experimental self-portrait of the painter Leonardo da Vinci, because when you overlay his actual self-portraits with the painting, you'll notice they have very similar facial features. But the most widely accepted theory is that the Mona Lisa was a portrait of Lisa Gherardini, the wife of a successful businessman, and essentially, the husband hired Da Vinci as a gift to the wife to celebrate the birth of one of their children. And today, that painting of some random dude's wife is worth $1 billion. Have you ever wondered who the lady is? Today, we're going magnet. This is the stinger of a... Have you ever wondered how Hollywood makes special effects? Well, here are some of the most entertaining scenes I could find. One of the most common techniques is using these full-body morph suits, which can easily be edited to give the illusion of invisibility or some sort of magical force like in Harry Potter. But the most entertaining clips by far is watching humans act out mythical creatures.
I am not a beast.
And although this looks super goofy, it not only helps the editors track the actors for more realistic movement, but it also helps the other actors know where to look or touch when interacting with animated characters. Have you ever wondered how Hollywood makes special effects? Well, here are some of the most entertaining scenes I could find. One of the most... This is called Dumb Cane, which recently went viral because it's super toxic, yet Coyote Peterson rubbed it into his skin and tongue. So let me show you why you should never do that. Inside the sap of Dumbcane are microscopic needle-like crystals that poke into your skin and cause intense irritation. In fact, it's so strong that it used to be fed to people as punishment to swell up their mouth so they couldn't speak. This is called Dumbcane, which... Do you know who the most popular person in history is? Well, let's see how many of the top 5 you can get. At number 5 is the Italian artist who famously painted the Mona Lisa and The Last Supper, Leonardo, not DiCaprio, da Vinci. Number 4, I'm surprised isn't ranked higher, because he's believed to be the son of God in the world's largest religion, Christianity, and that is Jesus. Number 3, another surprise, was the first leader of the Mongol Empire, who conquered huge chunks of Asia, unaliving 40 million people in the process. That brutal man is Genghis Khan. The second most popular person is an English scientist known for formulating the laws of motion and gravity. He's also considered one of the creators of calculus, so thanks, Sir Isaac Newton. And the most popular person is the Prophet of Islam and believed to be the messenger of God. That is Muhammad. Do you know what happens if the asteroid in This is me attempting to make wine out of soda. Because according to this viral video, you can make wine out of nearly anything that has sugar in it. So today, we're putting it to the test, using my favorite childhood soda. I started by pouring the soda into this 1-gallon jug, trying to release as much carbonation as possible.
That's gonna rip.
Next, I had to stir in about 2 pounds of honey to get the total amount of sugar to over 1,000 grams, which seems like a ton, but the yeast that I'm pouring in will consume all of that sugar and slowly convert it into alcohol as it ferments.
Me after beans.
But for all of this to work, there's one step that I'm a little nervous about. Soda has preservatives that prevent it from fermenting. But thanks to Golden Hive Mead's tutorial, I learned that you can add baking soda to raise the pH levels, allowing it to ferment. So in 30 days, we'll see what this tastes like. This is me attempting to make wine out of soda. Have you ever wondered how magicians do this? This magic trick, where they pour salt into their hand, toss it up into the air, and even wipe their hands clean. Yet somehow they're able to magically grab the salt back out of thin air. Well, the trick is with my hands. By watching my hands super closely from this angle, you can see that I don't throw the salt. In fact, I've already transferred it somewhere else on my body. I'm just hiding. And if you don't see where I'm hiding it, look even closer at my thumb. Have you ever wondered how magicians do this magic trick, where they pour salt into their hand, toss it up into the air, and even wipe their hands clean? Yet somehow they're able to magically grab the salt back out of thin air. Well, the trick is with my hands. By watching my hands super closely from this angle, you can see that I don't throw the salt. In fact, I've already transferred it somewhere else on my body. I'm just hiding. And if you don't see where I'm hiding it, look even closer at my thumb. Have you ever wondered? This is an unmeltable chocolate bar, which is made to have this really unique texture that resists heat and is currently going viral because no one has successfully melted one. So today, I'm putting it to the test. Starting with boiling water, I put the unmeltable chocolate along with the Hershey's and Feastables for comparison into the water and let them sit for several hours.
I'm gonna let this sit until the end of the video.
While the chocolate boiled, I did a direct sunlight test using a magnifying glass to create an extremely hot beam that torched the chocolate bars. But somehow, the unmeltable remained unmelted. But then I had this idea. I figured that a microwave would 100% melt the candy. And after literally scorching the Hershey's, the unmeltable still lived. And finally, after several hours of boiling, turns out the only thing hot enough to melt this is subscribe it, because it didn't melt. This is an unmeltable. What you're about to watch is the most wholesome thing you'll see all day. Caught on camera for the first time ever is a group of nearly 1,000 baby emperor penguins nervously marching towards a cliff in Antarctica. Well, it's about this age for them, around 6 months old, that these penguins learn to swim. So, starting with one brave little chick to take that first leap, hundreds of others are given the confidence to follow, plummeting 50 feet into the icy ocean below. That was beautiful. What you're about to watch is this is me attaching an ice chest to my car's tire. Because according to this viral video, it's possible to make ice cream by vigorously shaking milk and ice. So in theory, it should also be possible to use the spin of my wheel instead of shaking it. By pouring milk, sugar, and a few other ingredients for flavor into a jar and surrounding it with ice, the milk will eventually freeze if shaken long enough and hard enough.
Let's hook it up.
So after struggling to secure the cooler, it was time to test my bootleg ice cream machine. After starting slowly, I began to increase my speed for about 10 minutes when I realized a problem. The thermos I was using was too thick to get cold enough, so using a plastic bag, I decided to try again. And after 10 more minutes and subscribing, my bootleg ice cream machine worked.
That's pretty good.
This is me Have you ever wondered how much misinformation you've learned in school? Well, here's a blatant example from California history. This popular study website, which is used by over 30 million students and teachers every single month, well, they said that the Golden Gate Bridge collapsed during an earthquake in 1906. That's strange, because the Golden Gate Bridge didn't exist in 1906. In fact, it didn't exist for 30 years after this until it started being built in 1933. And it's never collapsed. And knowing that teachers use this on tests and in curriculums, follow me instead. Have you ever wondered how much
This is the Los Angeles River,
which is one of the most polluted and dirty rivers in the United States. And today, I'm attempting to make this water drinkable and seeing how much bacteria is in it before versus after. To do this, I put a water purifier into the river and dumped in a packet of chlorine water treatment to get rid of as much bacteria as possible. And almost instantly, you can see the treatment reacting with the water.
That's crazy.
I also took a sample of straight river water for comparison.
Let's put it to the test.
Alright, I let it sit for a few hours, and this is what the purified water looks like now. So let's compare. Oh, it's dripping. Starting with the non-purified water, you can see it's filled with an entire ecosystem of algae, bacteria, and microorganisms, all telling you to subscribe. Then I checked the cleaned water, and the difference in purity is honestly pretty amazing, but I'm still not drinking it.
This is the Los Angeles River,
which is have you ever tried the magic eye experiment? Well, this optical illusion is hard to see at first, but it's worth it. What you're watching is a stereogram, and by completely relaxing your eyes until your vision goes a bit blurry, you'll begin to see an optical illusion of a horse galloping. Now, most people can't see it at first, so here's how you can. To see a stereogram, you have to train your brain to look through an image rather than focusing directly on it. A common example of this is holding your fingers in front of your face and focusing past them until the illusion of a third finger appears. Now relax your eyes in a similar way when looking at the horse stereogram. Have you ever tried the magic eye experiment? Well, this optical illusion is hard to see at first, but it's worth it. What you're watching is a stereogram, and by completely relaxing your eyes until your vision goes a bit blurry, you'll begin to see an optical illusion of a horse galloping. Now, most people can't see it at first, so here's how you... Did you know that in Death Valley, the hottest and most unlivable place on the planet, there's a point called Badwater Basin, and on extremely rare occasions, this desert will flood. Well, this just happened, so here's why it's such a big deal. You see, Badwater is the driest and lowest point in North America, and just a few times in the last 100 or so years, California has been hit with such massive storms that Badwater will fill with water, creating a lake that spans several miles long but only a few feet deep. And all of the salt trapped in the sand will absorb into the water, creating these insane reflections that is truly a once-in-a-lifetime experience. Did you know that in Death... Do you know about the disturbing backstory of George Washington's teeth? Well, by the time he became president, Washington only had one natural tooth left that would slide into his dentures right here. And the false teeth in these dentures was a collection of sanded down cow and horse teeth, as well as human teeth that he purchased and extracted from enslaved people. And these dentures inflamed his mouth so badly that his jaw became deformed, which is partially why he was never seen or painted smiling. Do you know about the disturbing...
skin.
Is it possible to feel someone looking at you? Well, according to science, it is. You see, if we're looking at this painting and someone is standing in our peripheral vision, this unusual liquid is called garum. That smells like dead fish. And if you lived 2,000 years ago, you'd eat this almost every day. Yep, garum was the most popular food condiment during the Roman Empire. And before I try it, you should know that this stuff was outlawed because of how bad it smelled while making it. You see, garum was made by putting raw fish into salt and letting it ferment in the sun for several months. So what does it taste like? All right, I'm gonna open it, put a little bit onto a cracker. Here goes nothing. It tastes like you'd imagine. A very concentrated fish flavor with a lot of salt. It's decent, it's pretty good. This unusual liquid is called garum. The future is here. What you're watching is the first jetpack race in human history that was held a few days ago in Dubai. And these jetpacks are insane. The suits are made with 5 turbine engines that are powered by jet fuel and can go 80 miles per hour. And aside from racing them, they're being tested with both the military and with first responders. Gravity Industries, can I please try for a video? The future. Did you know the flag placed on the moon is not a normal flag? Yep, if you look closely, you'll notice the flag appears to be waving. But how is that possible if there's no air or wind in space? Well, the flag had a special design with a rod placed horizontally to keep it fully extended and not droop with the moon's gravity. And it looks like it's waving because just like on Earth, when you set up a flag, the force you put onto it will cause it to wave and bend. Well, that same thing happened on the moon, but as soon as they stopped touching it, the flag stayed in a waving, creased position because there's no atmosphere to continue moving it. Did you know these are my super jump shoes that have carbon fiber insoles in them that allow me to jump higher than ever before. And today, we're doing some sports science. You see, the longest jump in history is 29.4 feet by Mike Powell. So how much further would he have jumped if he had access to these? To test this, I first had to measure my own long jump without wearing the insoles, which was about 15 feet. Then I put the Victory insoles in my shoes and recorded roughly a 7-inch increase, or 3.9%. So in theory, Mike Powell would have jumped 3.9% further, which would have added over a foot to his record for 30.5 feet. You gotta check out Victory insoles. These are my super jump. Did you ever wondered how magicians do this magic trick? Where I can slide this ruler straight through the small openings of this box, but when I take it out, you discover that there's a piece of solid glass in the box that would make it impossible for anything to pass through. The glass is also too big to fit in or out of the small openings or to be rotated out of the way of the ruler. So the secret is not with the glass, it's with the box. And when I put it back in and it's fully secured, nothing can get in or out. But if I start giving it a good shake, you can see that the glass comes straight back out. Have you ever wondered how magicians... Did you know everyone with blue eyes is related? Yep, humans originally only had one eye color, and that was brown. Until this guy, who lived about 7,000 years ago near the Black Sea. And he was born with a rare genetic mutation that made his eyes blue. And today, about 800 million people are descendants of that one genetically mutated man. That's crazy. Did you know everyone with blue eyes is related? How old is your hearing? Well, let's find out.
That's loud.
How'd you do? How old is your... This will change the future. Yesterday, the creators of ChatGPT announced a new AI text-to-video app called Sora. And the footage is so hyper-realistic, you literally cannot tell if it's fake or not. Like in this clip, the dog even acts timid like it would in real life. Or how about this clip, showing a lady on the subway in Tokyo that was generated from one sentence. But the scariest thing about this is that just 1 year ago, text-to-video AI looked like this. So now people are concerned about how good this will get in the future and if it'll be used harmfully. This will change the future. Yes. Do you know about the disturbing origins of... Do you know about history's most unusual fashion trend? Well, in the 15th century, having the largest forehead possible was a symbol of beauty, high intelligence, and class. And people went to extreme lengths to achieve this look, like plucking their hairline several inches or applying acidic creams that burned their hair away. So what will people say about our trends in the future? Do you know about history's most Do you know why humans get deja vu? When you see something, that information is stored into short-term memory and then eventually into long-term. Well, certain triggers like being stressed or tired can cause your brain to misfire and skip steps in the memory process. This confuses your brain, and for a split second, you perceive the present as the past, while your brain tries to link what you're seeing to other similar memories you have. Do you know, this is me feeding a Venus flytrap candy. Yep, we all know that these plants trap insects, but most people don't know that it takes several days for them to dissolve and absorb what they catch. So can these plants digest human food like hamburger or candy? Well, to my surprise, it was relatively easy to get the plants to latch down on both foods. And within just a few hours, the digestive process already started.
It's starting to drip digestive fluid.
The full process takes about 7 days, so I'll update you then. Today, I'm making plasma, which is a form of super hot gas similar to lightning. Yep, oddly enough, by using a grape and cutting it nearly in half so it's just connected by the outer skin, the water-filled gelatin inside reacts perfectly with microwave radiation.
Well, here goes nothing.
When turned on, the connected skin acts as a hotspot and gets so hot that it rips the electrons from the grape, which creates visible sparks or plasma. But disclaimer, don't try to film the inside of microwaves because it will break your camera in seconds. Nice. Today, I'm making... This is me compared to the tallest human ever. Yep, standing at nearly 9 feet tall, the story of Robert Wadlow is both fascinating and sad. Born in 1918, Robert was a relatively normal kid, but by the time he was 8 years old, Robert experienced his first extreme growth spurt, towering not only over his classmates, but his own father. By middle school, Robert was recognized as the tallest Boy Scout ever.
I'm Robert Wadlow, 7 feet tall, 12 years old, and weigh 240 pounds.
With a shoe size of 37, his hands reaching over 12 inches and his clothes being custom made, Robert grew to 8'11" by 22. But here's where it takes a turn. Robert's body had gotten so big that his nervous system couldn't keep up. And in 1940, Robert got a blister from a leg brace, ultimately resulting in his passing at just 22. This is me compared to the tallest human ever. Yep, standing. This is me compared to the This is me compared to the This is the musical high. This is the musical highway. Yep, the road is covered in these tiny grooves that resonate music, except it's famous for sounding horrible, and you'll see why. Well, the road was originally designed to replicate this popular song. But during construction, each groove was made a fraction of an inch off, so the entire thing is out of tune and sounds like this. This is raw sugarcane, and today we're using it to make. Is it possible to see music? Well, since sound is technically just vibrations, you can tape a small piece of mirror onto a speaker, and when you point a laser at it, something pretty cool happens.
The experiment is set up, so I'm gonna play some sounds.
When I start playing a constant sound, you can see the laser forms a shape, which is the vibration of that specific note. And this becomes really clear using BandLab's tuner, as each note has its own vibration, which is why they sound different. And again, I use BandLab for all of my sound experiments and sound effects, and it's really good for creating music. So check out BandLab. Is it possible?
My name is Caitlin from the.
So this news reporter, this is homemade Botox.
This is gnarly.
Which is going super viral. Here are the most unusual facts about our human bodies. Just like your vision is filtering out your nose right now, your brain also blocks the feeling of your organs shifting inside of you. Now, if you're ever... Did you know here are the most unusual facts about our human bodies. Just like your vision is filtering out your nose right now, your brain also blocks the feeling of your organs shifting inside of you. Now, if you're ever feeling lonely, you should know that our bodies carry 2 to 5 pounds of built-in company like mites, fungus, and bacteria. No matter how hard you try, you can only use about 60% of your full strength. And this actually protects you, because if you could use 100%, you'd end up tearing your own muscles or breaking your own bones. So if someone lifts a car or shows superhuman strength in a dire situation, it's their brain overriding this rule for survival. Follow for more. Here are the most unusual facts. Did you know there's an eye test to tell if someone is attracted to you? And the cool thing is, you can test this on yourself or with your partner. All you have to do is use your phone to record your eyeball. And while recording yourself, start to think about someone you're attracted to. Now review your video and pay close attention to your pupil. If it started to flutter or get slightly bigger like this, it's because you are attracted to them. This happens because our bodies are designed to perk up and take in more information about things that excite us. How cute. Did you know there's an eye test? This strange green material is actually alive. And when I put a lot of it into water, watch how much it grows in just 3 minutes, forming thousands of these tiny edible bulbs called sea grapes. These are actually considered a superfood and really healthy for you. So without further ado, let's taste them. Did you hear that crunch? They're kind of like ocean gushers. You bite into them and you get this burst of salty seawater taste. So would you eat these? This strange green material. Have you ever wondered how Hollywood makes sound effects? Well, like you're seeing here, sound effects are actually created after the scene is filmed, and some of these sounds are not what you'd expect. For example, thriller movies often use lettuce to get that creaky, slimy effect. Another strange method is with these gloves that I made, which are used to recreate the sounds of animals walking and running. And to get the highest quality available, I record everything in BandLab, and then use their audio enhancing feature to really amplify my sounds. So check out BandLab, it's completely free. Have you ever wondered why Santa wears red? Well, a few hundred years ago, Santa actually wore green to represent evergreen trees and hollies, which are capable of enduring winter, a season that can be hard for people. But in 1823, the famous story "'Twas the Night Before Christmas" was released and describes Santa as dressed in all fur, with red rosy cheeks and a beard white as snow. It said nothing about wearing red, but it started to solidify his image of being plump and cheery. It wasn't until the 1930s that Coca-Cola wanted to show that their soda was more than just a summer drink. So they started using Santa, only showing him in clothes that match their red logo. And since Coca-Cola is the most popular soda in the world, it eventually just became accepted that Santa wears red. Have you ever wondered why Santa wears red? Well, a few hundred years ago, Santa... Do you know what happens in just 1 second? In every second on Earth, 24,000 tons of ice melts from our surface. 4 people are born and 2 people pass away. And in the 10 seconds you've been watching this, lightning has struck over 1,000 times, producing enough energy to charge your phone for 15,000 years. But it gets crazier. In this very next second, light just traveled across Earth 7 times, and Earth itself drifted 18 miles through space. By this point in the video, over 40,000 stars have exploded, and over 1 million more stars have been born. And Elon Musk, he made nearly the yearly average income in just the duration of this video. Do you know what happens in just 1? Did you know human-like robots are about to be released into the public? Yep, this is real footage released just a few days ago showing a fully functional humanoid robot called Optimus. And here's the craziest part. Only a year ago, Optimus looked like this. A robot that could barely walk on its own. But today, it can already take over repetitive human tasks, fully comprehend its surroundings, and has complete control over its mechanical limbs. They estimate over 10 billion of these will be sold once it's released in 2027. So are you getting one? Did you know human-like... This is me putting an uncooked grilled cheese into my car's engine. Because according to Mythbusters, car engines might be able to produce just enough heat to fully cook a meal. So today, we're putting it to the test and aiming for that perfectly cooked cheese pull. Here's how this works. The interior of an engine sits at around 200 degrees. So by wrapping food in tin foil, which helps evenly distribute heat, I should, in theory, be able to convert the hood of my car into a makeshift oven.
This might be a bad idea.
The sandwich is in position. I'm gonna let it sit for 10 minutes. I originally calculated that at 200 degrees, it would cook relatively quickly. But when I checked on it, it was cooking just really slowly.
Oh no.
So to capture more heat, I decided to carefully put it under the rubber plate this time, and after 10 more minutes, I had a lot more success.
That's melted cheese pull.
This is me putting an uncooked
It's a bird!
It's a plane!
No, it's the holy grail of comic books. Play using your Club Serrano card to earn entries before.
In my hands is just a normal slinky, but watch what happens when I drop it. The slinky mysteriously sits in midair until the top fully collapses. Even when I attach a weight to the bottom, it just floats there. So if I use the biggest slinky I can find from a much higher height, what happens and how much longer will it float than the original? Well, when it's dropped, gravity pushes down on the slinky, but due to tension in the coils, each part of the slinky only falls after the part above it. So the bottom is suspended for over a second, waiting for the forces to hit it. Follow for more. In my hands is just a normal slinky, but something crazy just happened on live television. This is footage of a news reporter giving the finger at the start of her show and then playing it off like nothing happened.
Live from London, this...
Well, she just released her apology and people have very mixed opinions on it. She explained that she was messing around with her camera crew while counting down the start of her show and didn't realize that she was live. Well, some are pretty upset about this, saying apology rejected and demand she's fired, while others think it's just a funny unintentional mistake and a good meme. What's your opinion? Something crazy just happened. Can you keep up with the fastest reader in the world? Well, give me 20 seconds and I'll show you how you compare to the world record holder. Yep, his name is Howard Berg and he can read over 25,000 words per minute. For perspective, this is how fast he reads one page. That's it. So how does he do it? Well, instead of focusing on one word like we're taught, he focuses in the middle of his gaze and trained his peripheral to fill in the rest. So using his technique, try to get as much information as possible when I unblur the words in 3, 2, 1. Comment how you did. Can you keep up with the fastest? These are my viral super jump shoes, which help me jump higher than I ever have. And today, I'm attempting the Ronaldo header challenge, which you might have seen nearly everyone fail on the internet. So, can these carbon fiber insoles... Have you ever wondered why humans kiss? Kiss me. Think about it. When you're little, kissing seems gross, but by the end of your life, you'll have spent over 300 hours kissing. Well, the reason we kiss actually makes a lot of sense. Kissing evolved as a way to find potential mates. When you kiss someone, you exchange pheromones, which are chemical signals about your body and genetic compatibility. It's almost like a sneak peek of, hey, would our genetics make good children? But what's even cooler, kissing releases oxytocin, or the love hormone, which increases your emotional bond to someone. So for all of those no strings attached scenarios out there, it's scientifically unlikely to work. Just saying. Have you ever wondered? This is me testing the indestructible Stanley Cup, which recently went super viral because the cup not only survived a car fire, but still kept the ice inside, and the president of the company responded with this.
I couldn't think of a better example of our product's quality.
So I was curious if the cups can actually withstand extreme temperatures, or if it was more likely that it survived because of luck. I started by getting the barbecue to 300 degrees, and then carefully placed the cup inside. The plastic exterior quickly started to melt while on its side, so I put it upright and let it sit. When I reopened the barbecue, the paint and handle had completely melted off, and I noticed something really interesting. The original cup didn't appear melted, so perhaps hers wasn't directly in the flames. Regardless, it's impressive that the ice in hers didn't melt because the water in mine was boiling hot. Shout out to Stanley though, they're replacing the car and thankfully everyone was safe. This is me folding a massive piece of paper. Because according to Mythbusters, it's physically impossible for paper to fold 7 or more times, as it gets so tiny and dense, only machines can bend it. So today, I'm gonna see if I can bust this myth with paper the size of a school bus. The plan was simple. Lay down both rolls of paper, tape them together, and then start folding. But there was a problem that I barely overcame: the wind. With the wind destroying my paper, I only had one option: to use the second roll as a weight, which did keep the paper down, but took away half the paper, which is equivalent to one fold. With each fold, the paper halves in surface area, but doubles in thickness, making each fold increasingly more difficult. But after a few hours of folding, creasing, and repeating, I not only folded it 7 times, but 8, completely busting this myth. Today, I'm exploring the Queen Mary, which is one of the most famous ships from World War II that has a pretty disturbing backstory. So after exploring it, these coffee beans are made from cat poop. Now, this might seem unusual to you, but it's actually a beloved delicacy in Indonesia, and a single cup can cost hundreds of dollars. Well, before I make it and compare it to American coffee, there's a reason why people love this so much. The coffee is made from these guys, civet cats, and they love eating coffee cherries. And once consumed, their stomach enzymes break down and ferment the coffee, resulting in its unique and rich flavor.
I'm excited, but a little nervous. First, just normal black coffee, cause we all know what this tastes like. Bitter, not much flavor, and personally not my favorite. All right, here goes nothing. Honestly, I thought I wasn't gonna like it. It's a lot richer and smoother, and it has a bit more flavor. It's honestly pretty good.
These coffee beans are made. Did you know that you have a dominant eyeball? Yeah, just like you might be right-handed, you might be right-eyed. Well, here's how to tell which one of your eyes is dominant. First, make a triangle with your hands and focus on an object in the center. With the object centered, start slowly closing your left eye. If the object stays in the center, then your right eye is dominant. But if the object shifts like this, then your left eye is dominant. So why would your eyes be different? Well, your dominant eye is primarily used for precision and detail, while your non-dominant eye focuses more on peripheral and surroundings. Pretty cool. Did you know that you have a dominant eyeball? Yeah, just like you might be right-handed, you might be right-eyed. Well, here's how to tell which one of your eyes is dominant. First, make a triangle with your hands and focus on an Did you know the famous moon landings have bloopers? Yeah, this is real footage from astronauts struggling on the moon. Well, here are the 3 most interesting clips I found from the moon landings. With the moon having 1/6 of the Earth's gravity, astronauts have compared walking on the moon to skipping on a trampoline. Now, combine less gravity with 180-pound bulky spacesuits, and that's why it's so difficult to walk on the moon. This next one is pretty funny. Did you know astronauts had moon cars? And they'd sometimes take these rovers on joyrides. Well, on one of these rides, astronaut Gene Cernan accidentally broke part of the exterior. He repaired the $50 million rover with duct tape. We all know Neil Armstrong, the first person to ever walk on the moon, and fellow Purdue grad. Well, his footsteps will likely last millions of years because there's no wind or water to erode them. Did you know the famous moon landing